I use that platform with respect.
Yes, sir.
I never allowed those who follow me to become vile as those who speak evil of us.
After the news of Facebook closing Minister Farrakhan's account,
All this great work, he looked around and he saw that there was no man. I'm in the right place. This is the place that you do confessions.
Wow.
I am really dangerous.
step in effort to silence and censor those who would dare speak the truth.
Is that of a father? And if we focused on those two commandments, we can walk through what's happening in Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and the hatred that is shown toward me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If you could dig into those two commandments, you can overcome.
To make a response, the minister could do so from his church. And he
And welcome to another powerful edition of the Community Defender Talk Show. One powerful hour of truth in a day of falsehood. I'm your host, Brother Darrell Muhammad.
I'm Sister Deborah Muhammad, and welcome to the Community Defender Talk Show.
And of course, we have a wonderful show planned for you. We're going to be operating under the banner tonight of Free Your Mind. Free Your Mind. And as a baby is born head first, a baby is born from a physical standpoint head first. The head comes out into the light of day first, then the rest of the body. So it is that our thinking has to change before the rest of our lives change.
Right.
The thinking of leadership has to change in order for the body to move in the right direction, just as the head guides that body in birth as it comes out into the life of day out of its mother. So it is with us as a people coming to freedom. The leadership must not be blind as they are today. And so, we promote and we advocate for people to listen to and look at the words of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the words of the Honorable Minister LUS Farrakhan, the words of Carter G. Woodson even, who talked about the miseducation of the Negro and just how Eurocentrism was really ingrained into the thinking of our people. We say we believe in God, Sister Deborah, but in reality, we bow down to Satan, sometimes knowingly and unknowingly, every day. Before we go too much further, I just want to greet all of the Muslims in the greeting words of peace and paradise of Assalamu alaikum. And I want to say to the Muslims who are in this blessed month of Ramadan and participating in a fast that nearly 2 billion of us around the planet are participating in, I just want to say, Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Kareem.
And of course, we only have a couple of days left in this blessed month of Ramadan of fasting. But we know that fasting is prescribed to build our will. And when you can will yourself to deny yourself food, deny yourself water, deny yourself the carnal enjoyments of your respective spouses during the daylight hours, then it lets you know that as your will gets stronger, it means that victory is coming.
Right.
And victory comes to whoever has the strongest will. A lot of times, America spends a lot of money on its military, Sister Deborah, because they believe that their guns and their drones and all of their munitions are something they can hide behind, but it takes a strong will.
That's right.
Is what it takes to win the war against Satan. And so we as Muslims are strengthening our will during this blessed month of Ramadan. And what that lets us know is that victory is assured because the will of the righteous is ever strengthening in this hour. So
That's right.
I wanted to lay that out there to all of us, and of course to the Muslim community as we are in our month of Ramadan. And of course we're dealing with free your mind. Sister Deborah?
And you can join us if you would like on the World Wide Web at AOCinc.org/watch. That's www.aocinc.org/watch. And we would love to have you call in. You could call in at 337-366-8950. And to your point, Brother Darrell, about freeing the mind, Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the clip that we had right before we came live was a clip of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan at the Facebook ban rally that was held at Father Michael Flager's church in Chicago, Illinois, who is a Catholic priest, a white Catholic priest, invited the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to have a rally there in response to the Facebook ban. We spoke about that last time. But just speaking of something about freeing the mind, right? And when you look at social media, now the way that social media works, it works by trending different topics. Once upon a time we still do have the news cycles, but now we move or filter information a lot more quickly now, called trending. So whenever, somebody is looking at, some event happens, then they may do a hashtag this, a hashtag that. And depending on how many hashtags they get with that particular name, it begins to trend. Well, people that control media, control information, understand how to manipulate people by moving them from place to place to place, without allowing people to really absorb, what is happening in the moment. And so with this Facebook ban, I just want to go back to last year. It was when the hot topic was net neutrality. You remember that topic? And the whole concept with net neutrality, it was the government was going to allow this thing with these large providers, internet providers, to be able to literally slow down the speed of smaller providers, almost like a monopoly on information, traffickers of information. And so, they say that knowledge is power, but he who controls the trafficking of knowledge has power, right? So if the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, being the only voice, as he said, nobody in America, nobody in the world speaks like Farrakhan. He said nobody has the courage of Farrakhan. Nobody has the wisdom of Farrakhan. If you can stop his voice on social media, if you can control, if this is about control, because trust and believe, when this internet was set up, they had an end game in mind. And the end game was to control the thoughts of the people by trending and getting different topics moving so people can think this way, people can think that way. Now, hardly there's a site that you can get on the internet where they don't require that you accept that they will collect your cookies, your data, so that they can analyze how you think. They can analyze, what information that you're consuming, so that they can target ads to you. But that's not the only reason.
Well,
so they can target information towards you.
We've talked about this for quite some time. And when you text about something,
Right.
or you talk about something, and I've experienced this numerous times, where there was a time when I was looking for a vehicle, and I talked about it, and I texted somebody about the prices of vehicle, and I emailed, and before you know it, Facebook ads for vehicles.
That's right.
Instagram for vehicles.
That's right.
Everything, emails about offers and no money down,
That's right.
low interest rates. I was getting all of this stuff simply because I was talking to other people about the fact that I was looking for a car. All of a sudden, ads came to me. And here I am, in private conversations, but yet whatever I'm on. And so whatever I talk about on the internet,
That's
or talk about on the telephone, it could be to my
or
mother.
a website that you may
If I talk about video equipment with my daughter, because my daughter does videography and stuff. If I talk about that for more than a few minutes, I guarantee you in my email and on Facebook there'll be an ad that comes to me about video equipment when I have that conversation.
Now,
So-
now,
so-
now,
so-
to my point.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
my
So
point.
it really is just that deep. But go ahead.
It's just that deep.
Mhm.
So I want us to analyze, why now? Why, are the powers that be, why now are they, withdrawing the access to the internet from the minister? They tried it out with the Twitter, with the verified account. They took his verified status off. Then you have people who are setting up alias accounts so that they can divert his quote unquote followers to their account. And so they can either not give information or give fallacious information from their accounts. So you have to ask yourself, why now? People have tried to say that Minister Farrakhan was no longer relevant. He was outdated. Charlemagne made the comment, the off-the-cuff comment about, that's the thinking, perhaps that's the thinking of an old man when he did the little sibling rivalry podcast with Angela Rye. Now, I'm saying this to say that we have to go beyond, go behind the veil, go behind the action and find the cause. Now, we in America think that we have internet-free, radio-free, airway-free viewing. We don't. They literally are controlling what we see.
No doubt
If
about
you
it.
go on your YouTube page, and you'll notice that they'll give you recommendations based upon other videos that you saw. They're not going to give you just outside recommendations. Now, I'm saying that to say that these people are controlling the traffic of information. Now, with the Facebook ban, you have to ask yourself why. There's something that we don't see that's beyond or behind this.
Well, I think
let me make my point. My point is that people, YouTube messes with your numbers too, and it messes with the numbers of your views. Facebook and Twitter messes with the number of your followers. It makes you seem like you don't have as many as you do.
Make it plain.
Minister Farrakhan has gotten beyond the control and the reach of the powers here in America.
Oh,
The
he's been beyond
He's
that.
been beyond it,
as
but now,
proof of the Million Man March.
exactly. But I'm talking about in terms of social media now. He's the only dissenting voice that has that type of following inside and outside America. And if you're trying to hatch a plan for globalization and world domination, or groupthink, as they say in Orwellian vernacular, then you don't want a dissenting voice who can call into question what it is that you're doing.
That's right.
So Minister Farrakhan is bigger than what we see.
Well, you know what? Our lack of understanding of the figures like the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, even going back to Marcus Garvey, who doesn't get the attention that he deserves based upon the leadership that he brought to Black America. Most of us don't know. Most of us don't understand Paul Robeson. We may never have heard of Paul Robeson, But when Paul Robeson said that he was infinitely more proud of his African heritage than his so-called American status or status as an American citizen, that he was infinitely more proud of that because that was deeper and richer. That was something unheard of on the news media. And like Minister Farrakhan said at one time, Paul Robeson was really all alone in the stands that he was taking and the things that he was saying. Now, I'm not saying that everything Paul Robeson did in his life was exactly right. I'm not saying everything that Marcus Garvey did was exactly right. But I am saying that they brought something to the table that the enemy does not want us to tap into. When you look at the fact that Martin Luther King has 4 books that nobody talks about and discusses, there's a holiday for him. But his books are not required reading in the school that will be out because of his holiday. What is it that he wrote in those books that doesn't go along with the narrative that's being fed to you? So Mike Foster, the great turncoat racist governor of the state of Louisiana, who talked against affirmative action and used Martin Luther King to say he wants it to be the content of your character, not the color of your skin, so I'm against affirmative action. But when you go back and you look at the writings of Dr. King said because something has been done against the Negro for 100 years, something will have to be done for the Negro for 100 years, which is what? Affirmative action. That's right in line with the principle. But when they selectively quote and misinterpret something, you can't see it for what it really is. So there's a book called Why We Can't Wait by Martin Luther King. What's in that book? Why don't the professors of so-called black studies talk about what's in those books, what's in the writings? When you look at Minister Farrakhan in his Time and What Must Be Done series, he began to read to us for the first time much of what Dr. King said in his latter days that we had no idea that he had said that, hey, if there's a criminal, if you add up all the crimes of black people, all the crimes of the white man, he said the real criminal is the white man.
Once again,
you would have
him exposing
but here's
things
the thing.
that we don't know.
But here's the thing. You would have thought many people would have attributed that to somebody like Malcolm. But it was Martin Luther King who said the real criminal in America is the white citizen. And if we were to say that, they would say, well, that's racist. But that's what Dr. King said. And that was something that goes against the narrative that they try to put out of Dr. King, which goes back to the topic of free your mind. And some of what you have to do as a black man and black woman is you have to commit yourself to the study. When we point to something, we might say, well, go check out what Minister Farrakhan said. Well, then it's up to you to go and check it out. It's up to you to go on YouTube and check it out. It's up to you to buy Torchlight for America or go on Amazon or wherever and get the book so you can find out what's in the book and relate it to today. When the minister put out that book, Torchlight for America, by Minister LUS Farrakhan, everything that he talked about in that book, the inordinate greed and self-interest, breaking down America, all of this is happening right now. Like everything. And he even said, look at America's vital signs. Her vital signs are showing that she's not healthy. Her vital signs are showing that she's in decline. And he made recommendations as to how. The other thing is, people talk about a black agenda. We need a black agenda. Yeah, we do. One was put out that went from 2000 to 2008 with the Million Family March agenda, was put out with the help of black scholars who were called to the table, and an agenda was crafted that we talked about here on the Community Defender. But the white media was not going to tell you about the agenda. The thing about it is, and this is something that Roland Martin talked about. He said when Barack Obama got into office, the homosexuals gave him a 54-page agenda of things they wanted done. They wanted gay marriage. They wanted more rights. They wanted laws. They wanted foreign policy to be in such a way. So now you can't get aid from America unless you go with gay marriage. All of this bribery of African leaders to make African leaders go with the gay agenda. So it's a situation where they had an agenda that they gave Barack Obama, and Barack Obama went with their agenda. But it was like the 7th year of his time in office, 6.5 years, and they were in a meeting, and this is what Roland Martin said, trying to craft an agenda after 6 years that they were about to give him. Because all Barack Obama had to do while he was in office was be black and be called the president, and the symbology of that for us was enough. But our children cannot have a future off symbolism. Those 1.3 million black men that are in jail are in a real jail. They're not in a symbolic jail. So we have to get past the symbol without substance. And that's why when we go there and they have us on the news with the little I voted sticker, right? Negroes have been voting for years. Slaves vote all the time. We voted for Barack Obama. But it didn't stop Tamir Rice from being murdered. It didn't stop Michael Brown from being murdered. It didn't stop Trayvon Martin from being murdered. And it didn't get anybody out of jail. So they talk about Barack Obama, and this is all about freeing your mind. How he was so generous. He pardoned 1,100 people. Hold on for a second. There are 2 million people in jail, man. It's almost like somebody owing you $1 million and then paying you back $1,000 or $500, and you think that you've been repaid. If somebody owed you $1 million and they gave you $500 bills, would you be happy with that?
No.
Heck no. So for us to be jumping for joy at 1,100 and people he commuted, the bottom line of it is it was really symbol without substance. So now black people have to look at this thing for what it is. We ran out here and voted, and what did we get out of it? Now, I'm a member of a fraternal organization called Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. That black and old gold, that fraternity that was founded in 1906 at Cornell University in Ithaca, New York. And, I'm very glad about the brotherhood that I was able to become a part of in 1986. The slogan is, the political motto of Alpha Phi Alpha is a voteless people is a hopeless people. But keep in mind, and I just want to say to my Alpha brothers, if you vote, and if we vote without a sense of who we are and out a sense of self-interest, the interest of all of our people, if we vote without being relevant to the upward struggle of our people, then we're still hopeless even though we're registered to vote. We give too much of our power to the white Democrats. The Democratic Party, though predominated in the South by black people, is still controlled by white folks. Okay? Still controlled by white folks. We got to get our own party. We have to have a party that we control and we align with people based upon what shared interests. And when they don't follow through, we pull back. Your real ballot, and I want to say this right quick as we take the caller. I want to say this right quick. This is your real ballot. Wherever you put this is going to continue to go. You put this on Gucci, Gucci's still here. You put this on Cavassier like a fool, Cavassier's still here. You put this on Hennessy, Hennessy is still here. But you don't put this on education, therefore what? Your children are not adequately educated because you don't put enough of this stuff in the right spot. Your real ballot, I submit to my Alpha brothers. This is our real ballot. When Brother Smith stood before the class at Morehouse College, when our frat brother, and gave $40 million to free other black people from the tyranny of debt for the education that they were to receive, he was actually voting. And he gave 40 million votes for the freedom of his people. He voted that day. And therefore, people who were hopeless in the debt of student loans are not now have hope because a man stood before them and cast his 40 million ballots for freedom. And I wanted to lay that out there. Sister or caller, go ahead with your call.
Fantastic show, fantastic show. Yes, I wanted to say that the people president, Trump, the president, he stated that, he's not our president, but some people's president, but he stated that the young lady, Meghan Markle, that, the Duchess, she's nasty. And when I heard that, I'm just in shock because how could a diabolical sex fiend call a young lady nasty when she's been married 3 times? Ivanka Trump, Marla Maples, and Melania Trump. And when she was pregnant, when Melania was pregnant, she was having sex with porn stars. And talking about grabbing women in their private, but yet he has the audacity to call Meghan nasty. I mean, if this idiot get any dumber than this, I can't say we're already in trouble. We're already in hot trouble as we speak right now, but just the audacity of that white boy to say that. Thank you.
And I would have to agree with you. Some would characterize it as unmitigated gall. But here's the thing I would say. We were all so happy, I ain't going to say we, but most of our people, when this woman married into the so-called royal family. But most of us don't know there are other royal families. There's the Zulu royal family. There's the Igbo royal family. There are black kingdoms and tribes in Africa that have royal families that we as black people are not even familiar with. We're familiar with the white colonial royal family, but not with the royalty from among our own people, and not understanding that we're beyond royalty, that we as a people are going to reach the level of divinity. So we were so happy that a black woman married into a powerful white family. And I think that that was problematic. I don't think that, and understand that the porno pictures that the present first lady took, I mean, his own wife has been involved in all kind of things that are very, very, very much beneath what a woman should be involved in. She has all kind of lesbian photos that are all online. And we're talking about Donald Trump's wife, his current wife right now. Now, I want to also underscore this point. This is why you got to free your mind. That Donald Trump, when it came to his genitals, he got experts to handle his genitals. He had professional prostitutes, porn stars that were experts in sex. But the people he has put in the cabinet don't know anything about what they're doing, which means that the president has put his actual penis in a higher priority than the country. I want you to think about that. He got Stormy Daniels to handle his genitals. He got an expert, but Ben Carson is the head of HUD. Betsy DeVos is over education. But he gets an expert for his sexual exploits, but gets somebody who doesn't know anything to govern. And the person who's over the Department of Defense now is only a former executive of Boeing with no military experience. That's who's over defense right now, somebody who knows nothing about defense, only about selling arms and selling jet aircraft to America. He's put there to make sure that the Pentagon keeps buying things from Boeing. I'm just laying it out there for you, and as we free our mind. And I want you to think about the fact what he gets experts for, and then when it comes to the country, nobody's an expert that he appoints. I want you just to think about the sickness of that, and think about the fact that Donald Trump has done us a great service in that he has exposed the Christian right for the hypocrites that they always were. They said that they were for decency and family, and that if you cheat on your wife, that goes to the integrity and you can hold the office. You remember how they did Bill Clinton? But at the end of the day, they're not about morality. They're not about family. They're about one thing and one thing only, and that's white supremacy. White man on top, black man on bottom. All of their crosses and all of their Bibles are all to fool black folks into the pie in the sky after you die. But when Minister Farrakhan is talking about something sound on the ground while you're still around. They want to go to war with Iran. And they don't want the voice of Minister Farrakhan on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, telling the truth of their plans.
Right.
They want to destroy black people. They want to literally go in and militarily assault the black community. They can't have a voice in their mind up there doing what they're doing. And Minister Farrakhan has exposed the Jewish hatred of Jesus, which means that all of the Jimmy Swaggart of the world who say we got to be with Israel, and it's all about Jesus and him crucified. It's all about Jesus, really? But you are aligning yourself with the people who believe that Jesus is in hell boiling in hot excrement, meaning fecal matter and urine. And you think that Jesus is boiling in hell in that, and that his mother Mary was nothing but a prostitute. So when he exposed the writings of the Jews about Jesus, they can't handle that. They cannot handle the exposure to light. So all of you evangelicals that are still rolling with Netanyahu, still rolling with AIPAC, still rolling with Israel, still rolling with a nation set up on the hatred of Jesus. And you no longer have a cloak for your white supremacy. It's all about white supremacy, and oh yes, white supremacy. Sister Deborah?
You can join us on the World Wide Web at AOCinc.org/watch. Well, I would kind of like to pivot.
You got to free your mind.
Free your mind. Pivot back to this whole Facebook ban and the whole concept of social media and where everything is going with this. Those are I guess, exposing the machinations of Satan, the things that you're talking about, and their inconsistencies. But I'm not going to say necessarily at a deeper level, but on another level. This whole concept of mind control is brought to, a higher brought to a higher level when you're dealing with the social media. When you're dealing with media in general, but when you go into social media, it gives people access to the minds of people immediately. Literally, you can turn just like a school of fish. When the head fish turns, the whole school turns immediately, almost simultaneously. And that's how this media platform is set up to design people. We're strange people, like the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. We're like fish that are in a school. When the head fish turns, we're all going to turn that way. If it's Kanye this week, everybody's going to be talking about Kanye. If it's R. Kelly, everybody's going to be talking about R. Kelly. And then we forget about the things that we were talking about last week. And then we don't even look for the things that are important, like a war on Iran. Ask, people that are...
And whose children are going to be drafted.
Or they might be drafted.
To fight that war that we don't need to be
laws
fought.
that are being passed about women going into, combat and being drafted and things like that. I mean, are we paying attention? And so that's what I really want to deal with, for my little side of this, is that social media, media in general, social media in particular, and social media devices such as cell phones, these, people are addicted to these devices now to the point that, you could be halfway to work and you'll turn around and go get your cell phone because you just can't be without it. It's not that you just need to have somebody call you. It's just that you can't be without it. And so with that being the case, while we're looking at all of this stuff on social media, they're looking at how they can even more get you to be addicted. Now part of their plan was to get you addicted to it.
Mhm.
Now that part of the plan has already been realized. People are addicted. They even have where you go get therapy for your addictions to cell phones. Now the next phase of the plan, talking about freeing your mind, is to integrate this technology with electronics. Okay, they did things like the glasses, the Google glasses. That I don't think that really went that far, but you did the Google glasses. You have Google Home. You have all of these assistants. They're getting you accustomed to interacting with computer devices or inanimate devices. So now you're talking to Alexa and you're talking to Google, you're talking to all these inanimate devices as if you're talking to another human being. Another level of getting you, yes, programmed, okay? Now, there's another level that they're going to. And the next level is actually integrating the technology into your body. Talking about controlling mind, chips. There are places like in Sweden where now they're having parties that celebrate people who have gotten chips implanted, the RFID chips implanted into them, where you can start accessing information. You're getting tattoos with barcodes that if you scan it, it goes straight to your social media. Literally talking about controlling your mind. What Minister Farrakhan says and uses, as he said on his Facebook band rally, he said, I've used this platform responsibly.
With respect.
With respect.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Honorable Minister LUS Farrakhan is saying that I didn't use it for frivolity. I didn't use it for, posting a selfie or something like that. I'm trying to free your mind when they are trying to enslave us to the nth degree.
Absolutely. And I think of when you look at where so-called black leadership is, which is really white leadership in black skin in
Right.
lots of cases,
Right.
it is leading us to have faith in something that has consistently failed us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we look at, and we went back and looked at what Angela Rye had said, and Angela Rye just totally misunderstood, and she defended Joe Biden to the nth degree, but had nothing but criticism for a man who has worked. And it goes to show you that when white folks put you on television, because we don't have a CNN, but when white folks put you on television, you feel as though you've arrived, not knowing that they put you on television because, number one, they got to have a certain amount of black people on television because people have sacrificed to say we got to have so-called diversity. So other people who have paved the way for you to be there, then for you to come back and kick the people in the butt who've paved the way for your raggedy
Right.
butt to be where you are, and not to pay homage to those who have given rise to you. You understand? So when I talked about my grandmother who was 103 when she died, I'm talking about a person who helped to pave the way for me
Right.
to be here today. A person who sacrificed for her children so that my parents could put me where I am today. I'm not trying to go back and correct my grandmama's English, who was 102 years old, and say, well, grandmama, your grandma's off. No, that woman is the reason that I'm here on the earth. She helped me to get to where I am. Now, I'm going to write my letters and my memos in the proper grammar, but it's not for me to correct her. She can talk however she wants to talk. She can split as many verbs as she wants to split.
Right.
The point is that this young lady, Angela Rye, was, as Brother Nur would say, she wasn't on code. She violated the code, and that's the problem. Brother, go ahead with your call. You're on the air with the Community Defender.
Good evening, Brother Darren. Deborah. Great show. Listen, I want to briefly segue to separate topics and go back to Sister Deborah. Well, the second one was Sister Deborah in Facebook. But first, Brother Dara, we sitting in the state, according to the statistic that you and I don't write, or nobody from the final call is writing these statistics. We're sitting in the state that consistently last in every conceivable category that deals with education, economic, and health, and maybe whatever. I mean, it's so sad. Now you got to ask yourself, how could some of these legislators go to Baton Rouge every session, every legislative session, and not fight, especially the black politicians that we elect, not really fight hard down. We got a few of them trying to fight, but it's almost like a sad sack of potatoes, Brother Darrell, that's in Baton Rouge. The lobbyists control Baton Rouge. Look at the fact that they couldn't even pass a living wage bill, couldn't even jump $2 from 7 to 9. That failed. Now you got to wonder, I'm gonna say this: are the black politicians really fighting that hard to get something for the people who are mostly affected by having a low wage? I don't think so, Brother Darrell. And the issue with the state of Louisiana as it relates to the death penalty, whether or not we for the death penalty, the hypocritical stand that this governor is going to sign an abortion bill, and I'm not necessarily for abortion or against it, but the hypocritical stand of calling themselves Christians, they would more than likely have a law enforcement officer shoot you down the street. But yet they supposedly are fighting for the rights of the unborn. So as hypocritical, I don't believe they're sincere. I believe it's all about a certain category of a population that's declining, and that's who they want to save to be sure about that.
Caller, don't be euphemistic about it. Just go ahead and say they don't want white women to abort their babies by white men. And that's really what it's about. They want Christian white women in Kentucky who get pregnant. They don't want them to go to the abortion clinic. But Narkeisha can go to the abortion clinic. You understand what I'm saying?
Or the white woman that gets pregnant by a black man.
If they were concerned about the life of a child, an unborn child growing up in the state of Louisiana, especially or in America, they would have a livable wage. They would have better conditions for that child to come into being. So, and Sister Deborah, you're so right about Facebook. But Facebook and social media and the internet as a whole has corrupted everybody's mindset. Even I, Sister Deborah, don't even know what to believe, because the big thing now is that they were worrying about whether or not the Russians, and they're blaming it on the Russians. It might be the Russians, it might be the alien on planet Neptune. But somebody is controlling the narrative and keeping people from voting or voting. So they have certainly muddied the waters with the social media. So the internet is one big old pyramid scheme of mind control. So that's my comment, brother. Thank you so much, brother and sisters. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Well, the thing I would say is that the internet, you can set up your website. You got certain principles that you can use to bring people or bring traffic to your site and so on and so forth. But the internet, I think they meant it as to be something that was somewhat intimidating to the average person. But now I think the thing that they didn't anticipate is that you or anybody else, Minister Farrakhan or Beyonce or Jay-Z or just any brother that we don't know can come out here, go hard, and get a message out here that used to be a time they couldn't, and they did not anticipate the level of consciousness that's on YouTube, that's on Facebook, or that's on Instagram or Snapchat to be out there like it is, or even Twitter. Because you can literally tweet something and 2 million people get it sent to their phone. And so, but as long as you're tweeting foolishness, as long as you're saying the people of Venezuela must have democracy, Maduro must go, if you tweet that out, they don't mind that. But if you say they're lying on Maduro, and they only want the oil, all of a sudden that becomes a problem. And so both of those tweets can reach millions of people. So it puts you on a less uneven playing field, and I don't think they anticipated that. But we all, like Sister Deborah is indicating, need to be on guard for those things which can be detrimental about the internet. In other words, you have to utilize it to the best of your ability for righteous purposes. That's just the bottom line. It's almost like your car. You have to go to places that are good for you to go. Okay? You can use your car to go to church. You can use your car to go to the strip club. Which one should you go to? You follow what I'm saying? You're probably better off going to worship service than going to what they call the gentleman's club. But it's the same car. It's just how you use it and where you choose to go. The same with the internet. You know, you can choose to tune in to Brother Nuri Muhammad at NOI.org this morning, or you could choose it to go to some crazy site with wrestling. It just depends on where you want to go and what you want to do and what your mindset is with respect to that. But we know that the enemy does not want truth out there, and they fool you constantly. This week's final call says reparations 2020. And it's talking about how everybody, the politicians are now openly talking about and taking a position on reparations. Why? Because they need to get the slave interested in the election. Barack Obama, you got nothing from Barack Obama, so now you're like, oh, the heck with it. So now they bring up something that you've been talking about for a long time called reparations. Okay?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be something to get black people back engaged in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's designed to get you back engaged.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And
you need to unfoil that.
But
plot.
the bottom line of it is that once they get in there, as with the closing of Guantanamo Bay, which was a political promise of Barack Obama.
That's right.
He could not get Congress to go along with it.
That's right. They'll say anything.
And if Buttigieg or Elizabeth Warren gets in, or whoever gets in, they're not going to be able to get Congress to go along with it. And everybody knows that.
Good point.
They can talk about criminal justice reform, but even though a lot of these people are in jail for nonviolent offenses, white folk want black folk in jail. That's the typical place they want you dead or in. That's just the general feeling.
I'm just the reparation point. That's a good point
of the general population, in my view, in what I've seen. They don't want good to come to black folks, and that's why President Trump's campaigning is so effective. Is because the general, average, everyday white man views you as a threat to his house, to his future, to his children. He views your children as competitors with his children. And even though the rich man is robbing him blind as well, he views you as a threat. Therefore, he votes in accordance with whoever he feels is going to address that threat. And that hatred, that racism, as some Republicans are saying, where would the Republican Party be without racism? And some of them are saying the Republican Party would be nowhere on the map without race. Racism is what they need to maintain white supremacy and to maintain their unequaled and unearned power over the economic resources of the United States as well as the world. Don't forget what Bush tried to do. He tried to give all your Social Security dollars to Wall Street. The same people who scammed, did derivatives, caused the whole financial crash. He wanted to give your Social Security money directly to the irresponsible people on Wall Street who don't give a damn about you or your children or the future or your future retirement. Right. And there was resistance to it, which means it didn't go through, but he wanted just to send all of your money directly to Wall Street so that Wall Street could figure out what to do with your money. Bottom line. And it's that kind of thing. And even with education in these charter schools, privatizing education. The only motivation in education should be the uplift and education of the children to prepare them for the future that awaits them. Or to prepare them to produce the future that they can vision more appropriately. But they want to put a profit motive to everything. And with respect to infrastructure, all of this stuff, they're gonna, before they build the roads and bridges, Bolton is doing everything he can to start a war with Iran and to change the government in Iran so they can get that oil. And so that Israel and APEC, that has been lobbying for a war with Iran for the past 12 years. Understand that this lobbying group has done whole video presentations about the benefits of war with Iran, so I'm told.
But Iran is the only holdout down the Middle East. You know that they held a meeting in Mecca, and they got several Muslim countries to join in, you know, as in agreement with dealing with Iran, because they felt like Iran was destabilizing, the only destabilizing
America
country.
and
Of course,
Israel,
of course,
England, France are the destabilizing
Of course.
entities of, and for the American people not to be able to see that everything when the United States decided that Assad needed to go, and they sent in arms into Syria, and it was American arms.
But you create a boogeyman so that you can blame it.
Right.
You know,
But
ISIS.
it's so clear
It's clear
that
to
the
you.
destabilizing force in America or in the world is American foreign policy, driven by the Likud party in Israel, and with the figurehead or the face of Netanyahu, who is an absolutely satanic man, along with Bolton, who is also. These people are so wicked, so evil, so unconcerned with human life that it is unbelievable. We don't have anybody in jail right now with lower morals than these people. There are very few people in jail right now who have a lower character than Donald Trump. I don't think there's anybody in Angola right now, in Dixon or Hunt prison, that have a lower character than Donald Trump. Very few criminals have lower character. We talking about mobsters.
I would agree.
Because what did Donald Trump say when he first got in office? We need to be at war with Venezuela because they're sitting on all that oil. And now you see what? Them saying that we need military action to change the government.
Just take the oil. You know.
You and I have to free our mind. We can no longer go with the okie doke. We can no longer go with the media scheme on things. You gotta, as Sister Deborah so awfully said, look behind the veil. Don't just take what CBS says at face value. Look behind it. This is the same media that told you that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. This is the same media that told you once Saddam Hussein left, the Middle East would be totally stable. The same media that lied to you before, lied to you about Syria, lying to you about Venezuela, they're continuing to lie to you.
And the rule of thumb is really don't believe anything.
Thank you.
That's
Come
really,
on with it.
You don't believe anything that you see on the media.
Unless it's about weather.
Well, not even that. They get that wrong most of the time too. But the point is,
I'm not talking about predictions. I'm talking about what happened.
What actually
like when they tell you a tornado destroyed this town.
That's right.
That's normally true.
Now, the point that I'm making that last few seconds, but is that it's not that you shouldn't watch it. It's that you watch it with a jaundiced eye. You don't just believe it. You don't just consume it as it is. You have to, dissect it and then find the truth in it, because most of it is, like Donald Trump says, fake news.
No doubt about it. And the fake news existed well before Donald Trump came to office. They may call us conspiracy theorists. They can do that if they want to. But remember, 9/11 was an inside job.
That's right.
Done by the U.S. government with the help and aid of Israel. Israel knew about it in advance. Bottom line of it is they did that in order to justify the current policies against Muslims and Muslim nations so that they can steal resources under the guise of fighting terrorism. It was an inside job. George Bush had much more to do with 9/11 than Osama bin Laden did.
That's right.
That I went on record as saying that. That's what it is. I'm on television saying that.
30 seconds.
George Bush had more to do with 9/11. Dick Cheney had more to do with 9/11 than Osama bin Laden ever wished he could have had. And yeah, I said that on the air. So may Allah continue to bless all of us as we grow into the light of understanding. Remember, Muslims, we have just a couple more days left. Ramadan Mubarak for this time, and we look forward to seeing you again.